Good evening, everyone. Good to see you here. What does everybody want? Many things. I think it's very common among everyone. Everybody wants to be successful in whatever they want to do. Right? Generally speaking, most people want to be wealthy, to be prosperous. Secondly, they also want to have good reputation. They will also contribute to their success and prosperity, isn't it? When you have good reputation. After that, they start to think, okay, now I'm wealthy and prosperous, I've got good reputation. What else do you want? You want a long life. You want to enjoy it for a long time. What's the point of getting success at the age of 80? If you get success at the age of 40, you want to maintain it and make it better until you die. If you're successful, you wouldn't want to die, you want to live forever. But knowing that we are mortals and we must die, then the next thing they wish for is, well, if I die, may I be reborn in a good destination and then continue my enjoyment. Isn't it so? Who doesn't want to have long life? Everybody wants to have long life. But do you want to have long life which is unhealthy? Say you get a stroke and you are disabled or bedridden at the age of 40. Would you like to live until the age of 80? You wouldn't? So would you like to commit suicide? Also, it's not feasible. So what to do? Sometimes we wish for something, but we get something else. Christians say, man proposes and God opposes. But we Buddhists say, man proposes but karma opposes. It's the same, different word. You cannot get what you wish. It's all due to causes and conditions. And I forgot one more thing. You also want to be beautiful, handsome. No, not? Yeah, you look at yourself in the mirror every day, comb your hair nicely, put on all your makeup, make your skin smoother than what it appears to be. All your lotions and everything, your skin toners and your shampoo to make your hair jet black and smooth. So, everybody wants to have beauty as well. The Buddha says that these are the things that people wish for. Everyone wants that. Well, you might think that if you are a renunciant, you would not want to have prosperity, you don't want to have wealth, right? Since you've already given up everything. But then, even as a renunciant, you need to have support. Even as a nun or a monk. If you don't have enough support also, you will not be able to survive. You will not be able to develop spiritually. So the Buddha says that wealth that is righteously obtained, beauty, good reputation, long life, and rebirth in a favorable realm of existence are all wished for by everyone, desirable, cherished, and yet it is difficult to get. Look at the world. Look at the population of the world. How many % of the population of the world has all these 5 things? Now look at the people in Africa, in India, and even in Buddhist countries, look at the poor people in Burma who are oppressed by their government. And then look at all the violence that is going on in Thailand, as well as Sri Lanka. So we are actually very lucky in this part of the world. Although we are supposed to be governed by a majority Muslim government, we still have the freedom to practice our own religion. And we have comparatively better security and a higher standard of living. But we should not rest complacent. We should not rest on our laurels, so to speak. Sometimes people want to take things the easy way. And the Buddha says, I say that these things that are wished for, cherished, desirable by most people and are difficult to obtain are not to be obtained merely by wishing. If they could be obtained merely by wishing, then a lot of people would possess of such desirable things. And yet we see people trying to take the shortcut, always trying to buy 4 digits, numbers, going to see Datokong, go to see the deity and asking for this and that. Even in Buddhist countries, Burma, Thailand, although they are supposed to be Buddhists, they regard the Buddha as another god, another deity. Perhaps you will know that Burma is reputed to be a land of pagodas. If you have taken a plane to Burma, before you land in Mandalay or in Yangon, you will see pagodas dotted all over the countryside. On almost every hill you can see a pagoda. And what do they do with the pagodas? It has become popular Buddhism. It's almost like animism, People go up to the pagoda when they have problems, they go and make wishes. In Chinese we say hai guan la. You go and make wishes there, and then if your wishes come true, then they will go and make offerings. So, how come? How is it possible that they can get what they wish just by going to the pagodas and praying? Last time when I stayed in Sarawak, more than 10 years ago, I had one local native who was a worker of one of my supporters who came to give me supplies every now and then because I was staying in a remote area. Sometimes we would talk about meditation and he says, these people also meditate. I say, how do they meditate? He said they will go deep in the forest to a cave or near a cave or a big tree where they sort of know that there are some spirits or deities around. Then they must be very daring and brave. They go there and they have this very strong desire of wanting something. They want something from the deities. So they go there and meditate and try to communicate with the deities. They have to make sacrifice. Then they ask for what they want, whatever they want. And then the deities will help them to get what they want. But they have to pay for it. Making sacrifice, get the fresh blood from white chicken and this sort of stuff. So this one is due to intervention from other beings. It's just like some people who are so desperate for money and so daring and bold, they go and rob a bank or they snatch handbags and they do all sorts of unrighteous things. They also get it quickly. But these things, easy come, easy go. Things that you get unrighteously will not last very long. That is one of the natural principles of nature. You get, but somehow or other, you don't know how it's all gone, spent. Okay, give another example of how people can get what they want, what they wish for, even without really working hard for it. More than 15 years ago, before I came back to Malaysia, I visited one of my monk friends, and he told me his story. He said that before he started this forest monastery, he had been walking around Burma looking at various forested areas because he wanted to found a forest monastery. And he would walk, he wouldn't take a ride, he would walk and go from one location to another location, passing through villages, through cemeteries and so forth. And then he would sleep at the foot of a tree. He would not go and stay in a monastery because he's very particular about staying in monasteries which are illegal from the monastic point of view. Well, from the monastic point of view, something is illegal if the monk accepts money and then makes use of the money to buy and develop the place. Most monks do that in Burma, so he tries to avoid staying in monasteries, because if they do that, it's an illegal monastery. If you go and stay there, then it is also an offense, so you will not be pure in your precepts. So he avoids staying in monasteries, and instead he would camp under a tree or he would go to sleep in the cemetery pavilion. I asked him what would happen if it rains. He said he would take a plastic bag with him, a huge plastic bag, and then he would go under a tree and take the plastic bag and put over himself. Wait until the rain is over, then he keep on walking. This is called a Thanga monk, a very austere monk. But anyway, he landed up at this place, and this is a little hill, forested hill, and he kind of liked this place. So he settled down there, and people start to come to see him. Forest monks are very well respected in traditional Buddhist countries, because they are austere, they follow the Vinaya, and they practice meditation. So Buddhists believe that if they support such monks, they can get better merits. And they also got a lot of faith to see monks who are well disciplined, well restrained, and well practiced. Now apparently, he told me that some of his disciples, or some of his supporters, when they came to talk to him, they would see behind him numbers, digits. Now those people who have good karma can see digits. Those people who don't have the good karma cannot see. You have 10 people there, maybe 1 or 2 will see, the rest cannot see, So they will go back and buy lah. And they struck and they got very rich, and they donated generator to the monastery, donated a brand new car to the monastery because they struck gold. Now, why is that so? But this monk is supposed to be a conscientious monk. The conscientious monk, even if he has the psychic power to know what is going to come out, he does not tell. To do that is wrong livelihood. And he doesn't even know about it. People tell him. So guess what happened? Actually, that little forested hill had a very powerful deity residing there. And that deity liked him, wanted him to stay. Yeah. Probably he's a Buddhist deity. And Buddhist deities, they also want merits. Right? So when they know that you're a very conscientious and well-disciplined monk, they welcome you to stay, and people come and do dana to you and they share merits, they also can get part of it. Okay? So it's a win-win situation. So that's how he attracted a lot of supporters, and his monastery developed very fast, very quickly, because there were a lot of supporters who came. But even if you go to see a Datuk Kong, or see a deity to ask for numbers, the deity has the psychic ability to know whether you deserve it or not. Right or not? Not everybody who goes to ask for numbers from the Datuk Kong will strike. Only those who have the karma will strike. And these deities are very clever. They won't give you the direct numbers. They will give you certain signs, and then you have to go and figure it out yourself. Okay, so this really depends on your karma, what you have done in the past, and whether you can get it or not. You can get what you want. So the Buddha says that in order to attain these things that people want, you need to have 4 accomplishments. One is the accomplishment of faith, and the second is the accomplishment of virtue. The third is the accomplishment of generosity, and the fourth is the accomplishment of wisdom. If you have these 4 accomplishments, then you can get these 5 things easily. And I will explain to you how they are interrelated. Now, first of all, we need to have faith in the Buddha. Faith in the Buddha's genuine awakening. Many people can claim to be awakened, to be enlightened, but how do you really know whether they are or not? There are many teachers actually who become very famous. They're very charismatic. They can present the Dhamma in a very clear way. They get a lot of supporters. And then somehow or other, they get involved in scandals. Sex scandals or embezzlement of funds. So these teachers are not really genuinely awakened. By awakening in Buddhism, we mean that it's not just an experience. Awakening entails the eradication of all our negative mental qualities. For example, greed, hatred and delusion at its root. Other aspects of negativity like conceit, jealousy, disappointment and so forth. So all these are no longer there. So because the Buddha is genuinely awakened, his mind is completely purified. And whatever Dhamma that he preaches comes out of his own personal experience and knowledge, and also motivated by pure compassion and loving kindness, without having any ulterior motives of wanting anything in return. He preaches for the welfare and happiness of those who listen to him. And because of that, he does not preach the same thing to everyone. He will assess at what level of spiritual maturity you are, and he will preach whatever that is suitable for you, that will benefit you in the most optimal way. So there's one thing that we need to believe in. It is only a belief because we don't really know. How would you know whether the Buddha really existed or not? Nowadays, scholars are also divided on the exact date of the Buddha's birth and death. Okay, so it's a belief that the Buddha was genuinely awakened. That's very important. With that belief, then we can take seriously the Buddha's teachings. Yeah. Since we believe that the Buddha was genuinely awakened and he's preached out of pure compassion and loving kindness without any selfish ulterior motives, then we can expect his Dhamma to be true and leading to welfare and happiness. Okay, so this is the Dhamma that the Buddha talks about. In order to get those things that everybody wants, you need to fulfill these 4 things. First is you have faith. Second is you need to have virtue. Okay, virtue means, in the lay context, the 5 precepts. You have to be impeccable in the 5 precepts. Okay, now just by being impeccable in the 5 precepts, it's already the cause and condition for you to obtain some of the things that you want. There's one sutta, or a couple of suttas, where the Buddha says that the wishes of one who is virtuous can easily be fulfilled. Yeah. But it's only when your precepts are intact and your precepts are impeccable can your wishes be fulfilled. If you are not a very virtuous Buddhist, you break the precepts. You say that becoming a businessman is impossible to keep the 4th precept. So you go around lying and cheating other people. Do you think you will have good reputation for that? You won't get good reputation. Because you can cheat people once or twice, but after that, when they know about your character, then the word will spread around. On the other hand, if you're really very strict about your precepts, then people will respect you. Let me give you one specific example. There's this young man, maybe he's in his early 40s, or even younger than that. He went to Bangkok to discuss with some clients over a contract that he was interested in. At the end of the discussion, his clients were agreeable and they said, okay, let's sign the contract. But before we do that, let's have wine and women. But this guy thought about it and says, no, I want to keep my precepts. I don't want to get involved in wine and women. So they said, okay, no wine, no women, no contract. So he went back to his hotel room and he probably regretted coming all the way to Bangkok and wasted all his time and money. So the next day he went to the airport, and there at the airport were his clients. They were waiting for him at the airport. And they brought the contract with him and they said, okay, let's sign. And then he said, I thought you don't want to sign? He said, oh, it's with people like you that you want to sign the contract. Because we know that you won't cheat us. Right, not? If somebody is so strict in his precept, will he cheat you? He wouldn't. So that's why if you are really strict in your precept and people know about it, they will respect you and your reputation will grow. This is also stated very specifically by the Buddha in the Mahaparinibbana Sutta. Before he died, he talked to a group of lay people and he said that one of the advantages or benefits of being virtuous in your precepts is that your reputation will grow. And in the Dhammapada also we have one verse which says that the fragrance of flowers are not as good as the fragrance of virtue. The fragrance of flowers may pervade for a certain area, but the fragrance of virtue can be smelt everywhere. So don't be discouraged into thinking that to be successful in business, you must by necessity break the fourth precept. It's not always so. In fact, if you try to be impeccable in that precept, you may face a lot of difficulties initially, but eventually you will also get your good reputation and success itself. Now, if you keep the first precept, abstaining from taking life, that will also give you long life. Right? That is the consequence of it. If you take life, then the consequence of it is that you will shorten your life. But there's also another positive aspect of the first precept, which is not only do you refrain from taking life, but you also try to practice harmlessness, compassion, and loving kindness towards all beings. If you go to the toilet and then you see some ants inside the toilet bowl, then you say, oh, I'm keeping precept, so I'm not going to use this bowl. Now you leave the toilet and go to another toilet and use the bowl there which is without ants. But you don't bother to save the ants in the bowl. You kept your precept, but you did not practice loving kindness and compassion. So it must come together, both the positive and the negative. Yeah? Not only must you refrain from doing it, you must also do something positive to help beings. I'm sure you all have heard of Dr. Lai Chiu-nan, a Taiwanese who was brought up and educated in the US. She got a PhD in pharmacy, and she was working in a cancer ward in the US for a couple of years, and she found that conventional methods of chemotherapy and radiotherapy do not cure a patient of cancer, but actually make the patient suffer more. They are not real cures for cancer. So she decided to explore alternative ways of treating cancer. She gave up all these mainstream approaches and went into something more Chinese, like doing Qigong, going on vegetarian diet, and also practicing meditation. So I read one of her booklets where she talked about one of her patients who was already declared an incurable by mainstream medicine, came to see her, and she advised her on her approach, which is to be a vegetarian, practice Qigong, and meditating on the affected organ and sending loving kindness to that affected organ, visualizing that it is in its original healthy state. And in addition to that, she also advised them to release animals. So there were two cases. One case was one patient who was given only a few months to live by the doctors. So she said, okay, since I've only got a few months to live, I might as well go to Nepal and stay up in the hill, in the mountains, and die peacefully in a nice environment rather than dying in a concrete jungle. Yeah, so she went to Nepal. And when she was in Nepal, she met some Tibetan lamas, and they knew about her problem, and they chanted for her and asked her to do some chanting. They also asked her to do a lot of releasing of birds. She followed all their advice and instructions, and she lived beyond that 5 months that she was given. In fact, after that, she fully recovered from her disease. Then there is another case of someone in Montreal, in Canada. She also was having a problem, skin cancer. And Dr. Lai Chiu-nan advised her to do all these things and also to release animals. So what she would do is she would go to the pier and wait for the trawlers to come back. And then she would buy the whole trawler and release all the fish. And it worked, After some time, she recovered completely. But the problem is, after that, she went back to her old ways, went back to eat meat, and went back to a stressful occupation, and then got cancer again, relapsed. Second time, she did it again, and she recovered. Third time, she fell back again, and after that, it's too late. Cannot reverse it anymore. You see? So you need discipline What is it that prevents you from being healthy? It's your craving, isn't it? After sila is generosity. Generosity is giving, and one is not miserly, but one should also use discretion in giving, right? We should also learn to give within our means. In a particular sutta in the Anguttara Nikaya, book of 5, sutta number 43, Patakama Sutta, the Buddha talks about how a person should make proper use of his wealth that is righteously gained. He talks about the 5 offerings. You make offerings to your living relatives, to guests who come to see you, to your departed relatives, then to the government, pay your taxes, to devas. Okay, these are the 5 offerings that you make. After that, if you still have enough money, then you look after the monks. So the monks come last, not in the beginning. The charity begins at home. In fact, even before you do those 5 offerings, he says that you must take care of yourself first. Take care of yourself, take care of your immediate family, your mother, your father, your spouse, your children, your workers. And then only after that, you take care of your relatives and so forth. So, dana should be done with discretion. Now, people like to do a lot of dana. Maybe it's inherent in us. That's why these bogus monks or these passa malam monks are so successful and thriving. Despite all our efforts to try to discourage the public from giving them ampao, people are still giving them ampao. Very strange, people, it is inherent in them. The moment they see someone who is bald and wearing something that looks like a robe, he must be a holy man. So you start to give ampao. Okay, so dana is very prevalent. And dana or giving is also something that is very universal. It is encouraged in all religions. But dana by itself cannot bring you to a fortunate realm of existence. You may be a dana king, do a lot of dana, but then if you are unscrupulous in your dealings, you don't keep the precepts, you are an avid angler, you go fishing or you go hunting every now and then you cheat people, or you get involved in drug trafficking or in prostitution. You know, these are all bad things, but you cannot let go of the comforts, the enjoyment that you get from wealth and prosperity. Right? So you keep on doing all these things. At the same time, you try to compensate by building monasteries and donating to the Sangha, or by sponsoring katina and so forth. You do a lot of dana. That's what the people in Thailand and Burma do. On the one hand, they are pimps. On the other hand, they are great temple sponsors. And then the generals in Burma, they oppress the people. At the same time, they build pagodas and invite monks to give Dhamma talks, and they sponsor government exams and give prizes, monetary prizes, to those who do well in their examinations. So, like I was saying, it's dark and bright karma. Alright, so what happens is, you do all this dana, but you don't keep your precepts. Then you cannot go up to a good existence. What will happen is, because the precepts were not good enough, then you will be reborn in the lower realms, either as an animal, or as a ghost, or in hell. But if you are born as an animal, because you have done so much dana before, you will still receive the results of your dana. You can become the bikinis of a millionaire, or a royal elephant, or a royal stallion, and you can enjoy all the pleasures of the senses. You can see some of the pets of rich people are so much better off than the people in Africa or in India, or even the beggars in the streets. Why? Because they've done so much good deeds before in the past, but did not keep their precepts. I guess all the dogs and the cats in SBS are in the same boat. They get to eat all the food that the monks eat, And they're very choosy. You give them others, no chicken, no fish, they don't want to eat. So, if you keep your precepts, you can get what you want. You can go to a good realm of existence. On the other hand, if your precepts are not pure, and you have some wealth, and then you also have attachment to your wealth, then what happens is, after you die, you can be reborn as a ghost. Let me tell you an interesting story. In Burma, there's this monastery where after the chief monk died, nobody dared to stay in the monastery because it was haunted by the chief monk. Anyone who stayed there would be chased away by this apparition of the chief monk. Then one day there was this fearless man. He says, I'm not afraid of anything in the world. I don't mind staying there. So he went to stay there. And sure enough, at night, the late abbot approached him. He got up and fought with the ghost, and he knocked off a cap that the ghost was wearing. When he knocked off the cap, the ghost said, oh, thank you so much. All those people who came to stay here, I tried to communicate with them, but they thought I was trying to scare them away because I cannot speak. But now that you knock off my cap, now I can tell you, please help me. I have hidden some of my wealth in a certain place. You please go to that place, you take half of it, and the other half, you go and do dana and share merits with me. 50% commission. So this guy, he did it, he went to the place this monk told him, and he took half of it, and the other half he did Sangha Dana, and then dedicated the merits to him. And he was liberated from that existence. So even if you're wealthy, you get your first wish, but if you do not let go of your clinging to your wealth or property or to your family members, then you're looking for trouble. You'll come back again to guard what you cannot let go of. Okay, so how about beauty? How can you get beauty? Now, beauty also can be obtained as a bonus. It seems that when you give, it depends on how you give. There's another sutta called Sappurisa Dana Sutta, the giving of a superior person. First, it says, if you give with faith, the mind of a person who has faith is bright and clear. And that is reflected in the person's appearance. When you give wholeheartedly, with real loving kindness and compassion, you can see the joy in your face. One is very happy to give. Now, because you give in that state of mind, happy and joy in your face, that is also the cause for beauty right then. Because even if you are an ugly person, when you smile, it's beautiful. But if you are the most beautiful woman in the world, dressed in the most beautiful gown, and if somebody spills something over your gown and you get angry, would you look beautiful? Nobody will come near you. So, if you give with faith, then when the good karma of giving bears fruit in the future, you will get wealth, you will get prosperity. But in addition to that, you will also get beauty. So, giving with faith is also a condition for beauty. Some people give not because they have faith, not because they really want to give, because they are obliged to give. Particularly if you are an influential businessman, you're a Buddhist, and you're trying to collect funds to build a meditation center, for example. Then you approach some of your clients and you tell them, hey, we are going to build a meditation center. Would you like to contribute? Then because they have some dealings with you, they feel obliged to contribute. They don't really want to do so out of faith, but they give anyway, unwillingly. Yeah. So that is not a willing gift, not really giving with respect. Okay, if you give with respect, what happens is, next time when these merits of giving bear fruits, then you will get a bonus. And the bonus is that you will be respected by the people around you. Your spouse, your children, your employees, they will listen to what you say. Right? So, if you find that your spouse, your children, or your colleagues don't listen to you, it means that when you did dana, you didn't do with respect. That's one of the reasons. Then another thing about good reputation is you don't be jealous, don't be envious. When people are doing well, you don't envy them, you don't get jealous. In fact, if you rejoice in what they do, then that will also give you a good reputation. The result is that you will get a lot of friends. Who likes to be around someone who is jealous? No. If somebody rejoices with your success, then you will consider him your friend, isn't it? Okay, so much about dana. The next thing that the Buddha said is, how many already? 4, right? The first one is accomplishment of faith, accomplishment of virtue, accomplishment of generosity, and accomplishment of wisdom. Okay. Now, if you have accomplishment of wisdom, then the first 3 can be accentuated. You can even improve. When you have wisdom, then your faith will not be gullible. It will be balanced. When you have wisdom also, you will know how to be creative in maintaining your precepts. Yeah? Sometimes you are confronted with a situation where you need to break the precept. But if you are intelligent and you are wise, you know how to go around it without breaking the precept. Instead of saying, "Ayya, cannot lah, must break one lah." If you don't have a will, then it's very easy to give up. But if you really have the will, you don't want to break, then your mind will be creative enough to think of various ways of going around it and not breaking the precept. Then also, regarding generosity, if you have wisdom, then you will be able to decide what to give, which is something that is appropriate to be given at the right time. Because although the resultant of giving is that you will get back in return, you will get wealth, you will get property, you will get fortune. But if you give things indiscriminately, inappropriately, at the wrong time, next time you will get what you want at the wrong time, not at the right time. Okay, you want to be rich at the age of 40, but you cannot get rich until the age of 80. Or you need something very badly, but you cannot get it because in the past when you gave, you just gave without discretion. You know, like nowadays, people see monks only, they like to give robes. They know monks don't accept money, so they give robes, they give toothbrush, toothpaste, ball pens and all that. And everybody likes to give that without asking whether you really need it or not. So we can actually open a stationery shop. In fact, there are some monks I know, they have a container where they keep all these things. If you don't put it in a container, then the termites and the rats will come. They put it in a container, and then when it's full, then they have to distribute it to the old folks' home and to the orphanage and all that. So very mahuan. So I prefer not to receive these things. Give me extra work. So please use the discretion. If you want to give anything, please ask the monk first. Bhante, I want to give you this. Do you need it or not? Or better still, you can make an invitation. Bhante, I want to give you something within my means. Can you tell me what you need? You better put in within my means, you know. If you don't put it within my means, you can also get into trouble. There's one case of a monk, a Western monk. He came to stay in a monastery in Semenanjung. Somehow we Chinese tend to look up to this Gui Long for some reason or other. Don't know why. So this devotee looked at that Western monk and then somehow had faith in him and made an invitation to him. If you need anything, Bhante, let me know. And then maybe he thought it over. Maybe the next day or so he told her, can you give me a return ticket to Europe for my family to come and visit me? And then the devotee said, Bhante, I myself cannot afford the ticket. But I'm cautioning you because there's one sutta called Vanija Sutta. I think Venerable Sariputta asked this question to the Buddha. He said, how is it there are some people who, when they do business, sometimes they can get what they want. Sometimes they cannot get what they want. Sometimes they get less than what they projected. Sometimes they get more than what they projected. 4 permutations. The Buddha said it's because in the past, these people had made an invitation to monks and they did not fulfill their promise. Some of them did not fulfill the promise. So if you had made an invitation to a monk saying, Bhante, if you need a set of robes, please let me know. You made that invitation maybe in good faith. But when the monk really needs the robes, either you are too busy or at that time you don't have enough money to buy, so you don't give. So because of that, next time you make business, you cannot get what you want. That's one of the causes and conditions. And then another one is, he asked for a set of robes. A set of robes is actually 3 robes, but then you give him only 2 instead of 3. So next time, you won't achieve the full objective, maybe 2/3 of it. And then if you ask for a set of robes and you give him a set of robes, 3 robes as one set, then you'll get exactly what you want. But if you give him more than what he asked for, if he asked for a set, you give him 2 sets. Then next time you get more than what you want. Yeah, maybe that's what happened to us. That's why you got so many ropes. So much stationery, so much toothpaste and toothbrush. You gave more than what is required. And you gave at the wrong time. So when you make an invitation to monks, make sure you do so with this escape clause. Please let me know if you need anything that I can give you within my means. Alright? Within your means means within your financial resources and within the extent of your faith. So sometimes when you make an invitation to a monk, don't be surprised if the monk asks you, what's your budget? This is something practical, isn't it? You don't want him to ask more than what he can afford, right? Okay, so these are the things that you need to be aware of. For this, you need wisdom, right? If you don't have wisdom, how are you going to do all these things with discretion? Right? How to get wisdom? That's the most important thing. The Buddha's teaching is all about dependent arising. It's all about causes and conditions, right? So what is the cause and condition for wisdom to arise? How can you develop wisdom? You cannot just say, I want wisdom. Cannot. You have to create the conditions for wisdom to arise. So the Buddha says that actually, not only in this sutta, in many suttas, not only in this worldly sense, but also in the spiritual sense. They are actually similar, although at different levels. If you're a meditator, you would have heard of the 5 hindrances. Have you heard of the 5 hindrances? The 5 hindrances obstruct you from making spiritual progress. The first one is sensual desire. When you try to meditate, you sit down, close your eyes, you try to focus on your breath, try to focus on your rising and falling. Then your mind starts to think of the ice cream in the fridge. How are you going to concentrate? Or you think about the chak bei tiao. How are you going to concentrate? Cannot. As you sit there, trying to focus on the breath, then somebody baking a cake next door, and then come and smell, oh, hungry already, want to eat. How are you going to focus on the breath? Cannot, right? So this is sensual desire that will obstruct your progress in meditation. It could be anything of the senses. You see, you smell, you taste, you hear, or even what you want to feel with the body. Meditating in the hall, so hot, and then you're sweating all over, and then you're thinking, if only this place was air-conditioned, how nice it would be. Then you're not focusing on your breath already, you're focusing on the aircon. So that's obstructing your progress. So that's number 1. Okay, let's go through the 5 first, and then I'll come back to the worldly, in the worldly context. The second one is anger. If you have anger, you sit there trying to focus, and then you start to think of some situation or some person who made you angry, who hurt you in some way, then also you cannot continue your meditation, right? Number 3 is drowsiness, sleepiness. How can you be clear, have clarity of mind or focus on anything when you are half asleep? Cannot. And that could be due to many reasons. It could be because you are sick. It could be because you didn't have enough sleep last night. It could be because you ate too much. It could be because of the weather. It could be because of the food you eat. Many, many reasons. But whatever it is an obstruction to your spiritual progress. And then the 4th one is having restlessness and remorse. Somehow, before you came for the retreat, you rushed. You're taking 1 week off, so you have to get things done, tie up loose ends before you come. But then they're not properly tied, You come to your meditation and then you said, forgot to do that. Forgot to do that. How are you going to meditate? Then I have to go reach for the handphone and I have to call, can you do this for me? So that is also another hindrance, restlessness and remorse, regretting. Then the last one is doubt. Doubt about yourself, about the method, doubt about how to actually practice. Let's say you're watching your breath. Watch, until it becomes so subtle, you cannot find it anymore. Right? So what are you going to do? So at that point, you don't know, you are stuck already, you cannot do anything, right? So that's why it's an obstruction. So when you have doubt, you don't know what to do. Or when you meditate and then you see, you feel like you're levitating now. Okay, now what to do? Should I levitate or should I come back to my breath? What should I do? So when you have doubts about how to continue, then that will also hinder your practice. That's where wisdom doesn't arise. No wisdom concerning your practice. But in the worldly sense, these same 5 things will hinder your worldly wisdom. Let's look at them. But the first one is not so much on sensual desire, because as worldly people, you are entitled to have a char kway teow and your ice cream, right? You are not a yogi, okay? But he says, what would be a hindrance or an obstacle to wisdom is imbalanced, unrighteous greed and covetousness. Now the word covetousness has a specific meaning. It means wanting something or somebody that belongs to someone else. Only that thing, only that somebody, not other thing or somebody that looks like that somebody. You want that somebody's wife, you want somebody's husband, or you want somebody's car, that particular car, not another similar model, you want that particular car with that number plate. You only want that, and you don't want anything else. And you just think about it without really doing anything about it. That itself will be a hindrance for the arising of wisdom. Or unrighteous greed, in the sense that you desire something very badly that you should not have, that you cannot afford. And because you are so obsessed with it, you think of it day and night, and you cannot concentrate on your work. Isn't it? When you are so obsessed with a desire like that, how are you going to concentrate on your worldly task, whatever you are doing? Whether you are a top-level executive or whether you are a factory worker, you will install the wrong component in your chip when you're thinking about these things. You need to have concentration, you need to have focus, and these things are obstructions to your mind. So, this unrighteous greed, this covetousness should be recognized. The moment it arises, then one should recognize it as a defilement of the mind. And if you recognize it, then you should abandon it. Don't entertain it, don't indulge it, let it go. But I'll tell you how to do it later on. Let me go through the others first. The second is ill will. Same ill will also the same. If you're angry with somebody, let's say you quarrel with your spouse, then you come back, try to work in your desk. Now your mind is always going back to think about that event. It will surely hinder your work, isn't it? Particularly if you are doing something that requires brain work. You cannot concentrate. You cannot come up with a good solution to a problem that you have to face. So that also must be recognized. Oh, okay, this is anger, this is aversion, this is ill will, it is a defilement of the mind, and it should be abandoned, and then you should abandon it. Then thirdly, drowsiness. Same thing. If you had a good party at night and you drank too much, and then you slept at 2, 3 a.m. in the morning, you got to get up early in the morning to go to work, and then when you're back at your desk, you're not alert enough to do your work properly, whatever work you are supposed to do. Your bio system will be out of sync, so to speak. So too with the next one, which is restlessness, remorse, and also with doubt. Doubt is doubt about your work, what you're supposed to do. And if you're not clear about what you're supposed to do, then you cannot do your work well, and your boss will come after you. So all these things are also hindrances. When you know all these hindrances, you should recognize them, abandon them, and try to rectify them. So what this requires is that you must constantly reflect on what's happening in your mind. How would you know that one of these hindrances is there if you don't look at your mind? You have to go back every time and then reflect and look at your state of mind. How is it now reacting or responding to the 6 senses? To what you see, hear, smell, taste, and the ideas and the thoughts and whatever that your mind is thinking of. Now, how do we do that? Because it's such a bad habit for the mind to get lost in thought. When we are lost in our thoughts, then we are not aware that we are angry, we are not aware that we are restless or we have remorse in our minds. So in order to do that, we must first of all train the mind to have some reference points, to have an anchor. And what is the best anchor? What is the best reference point? It's your 5 senses. You've heard so often people say, be present, be in the present moment. What is present? Many years ago, before I became a monk, I was at that time very interested in Zen Buddhism, interested in Zen meditation. So at that time there were very few books on Zen, and the few books that were available in English then talked about being the present moment, being the here and now. It says, when you walk, just walk. When you eat, just eat. Very simple, it seems very simple, but how do you actually do it? So I was wondering for a long time, and trying to put it into practice, but don't know really how to put it into practice until one day somebody introduced me to Malaysian Buddhist Meditation Center in Penang, and I went to read up a book on Vipassana meditation by Mahasi Sayadaw, and I thought, oh yeah, it's so clearly stated here. Then later, through also the study of Abhidhamma, I found a very simple principle. Our 5 senses can only take present objects. We can only see, hear, smell, taste, and feel objects that are right here, right now. You can't see something you saw this morning if it's not here. You can't smell something which you smelled before you came when it's not here, right or not? All these 5 senses must take objects that are here, right now. So that's why, to be present, all you need to do is come back to your senses. That's why in SBS we printed T-shirt, and the back it says, lost in thought, come back to your senses. To disengage yourself from your thoughts, very simple. You come back to your senses and then you stop thinking already. Why? Because the mind is a bit different from the 5 senses. Now in Buddhism we talk about the 6 senses. The 5 senses, eye, ear, nose, tongue, body. And then the 6th sense is the mind. Alright. The 5 senses can only take present objects, but the mind can take any object, past, present, future, fantasy, imagination, concepts, even nibbana, anything. How do you know that? When you fall asleep at night, all your 5 senses are shut down, right or not? But in your sleep, you can be flying in the air, you can be dancing in a disco, you can be fighting with somebody, you can be running for your life because robbers are chasing you, and you can feel fear, right? All these things are happening in your mind, and everything is in technicolor, you can full color and full sensation. But the 5 senses are shut down, you see? Right? So that's how, when people meditate, even though they sit down with their eyes closed and all that, they can have a full movie, going on in their minds. You can create your own video in your minds. Because the mind has this ability to create things and to remember things of the past. So that's why, if you want to watch the mind, not so easy. Because automatically you get caught up in the thoughts. And when you are inside the thoughts, you cannot watch the mind anymore. If you want to watch the mind, you must be outside looking at what's happening. So, that's why I say you must have a reference point. A reference point is, if you study geometry, if you want to locate a point in space, you must give 3 coordinates, right? Not x, y, z. Then only you can locate this point in space. If you want to locate where the mind is, you give 5 coordinates. Seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, feeling. If the mind is not with any of these things, that means it's somewhere else. Right? So the moment you realize that, it's not with any of the 5 senses, it's somewhere else, then you watch it. What is it doing? Then at that time, you can distinguish, it's thinking productive thoughts. Now it's unproductive thoughts. Productive thoughts are those thoughts that are related to your tasks in life. What you need to do for your family, what you need to do for your work, And idle thoughts are just useless comments and commentary, the chatter in your mind, You see something, you start to comment. You hear something, you start to comment. You see something and you say, hey, that guy, he got no sense of color, his blouse and his shirt, his skirt don't match. These sort of things come out. You're driving along the road and then your eye catches a new car and say, wow, that's a new car, I wonder what brand it is, what's the number plate, who is driving, all these things, all this nonsense. You see, when you realize that the mind is into this sort of idle mode, then stop thinking. Come back to the present moment. Be aware of what you're doing. Driving, be aware of your hand in contact with your steering wheel, you're sitting on the seat, your feet on the pedal, the sounds you hear, what you see. Come back to the present moment. So when you program your mind to do that as often as possible, then it's very easy for you to watch the mind. Then you can see when the mind goes off, then you don't get caught up in it, because you try to come back to the present moment. And when you do that, now you get a lot of benefits, Then you are less forgetful. Why are people forgetful? Because they are not in the present. You are late, you woke up late, you want to go to office, go to work, and then you start to think, what if I get caught in a traffic jam? What if my boss scolds me? What am I going to do? You think of all these things, and then you go in a rush, late already. Rush. You go down to your car, drive to the traffic lights, and then you remember, forgot to lock my gate. Then you got to turn one round, you can lock again. Then you'll be more late. You'll be even later. Because you are not in the present. Don't worry about the future, whether you are late or not. You're already there. Just hurry up mindfully. Do things, hurry mindfully without thinking of the possible consequences. No point. Whether you think of the possible consequences or not, it's not going to make you earlier. In fact, if you think about the possible consequences, it might make you later. So just be in the present moment. Be aware of what you're doing. Be aware of rushing, getting things done quickly. Okay, so this is the principle of how to watch your mind so that you can identify these 5 hindrances. Then you can see, this is unrighteous greed, this is ill will, this is restlessness and remorse, this is drowsiness, this is doubt. You know that, and then you don't pursue them, you let go of them, and you try to address it. So when that happens, wisdom will automatically arise. Then you will be able to see things very objectively, with clarity of mind, and you will be able to make a wise decision. And that also will have a bearing on the other 3 types of accomplishments. It will balance your faith with gullibility. You don't simply believe now, you have wisdom there to guide you. And then your sila also, your precepts, when you are encountering situations where you feel that you have to break precepts, if wisdom is there, when you have clarity of mind, you will be able to think of creative situations not to break the precepts. Thirdly, generosity also, you will know when to give the right thing at the right time to the right people, within your means. So by doing all this, then you can get what you want. It's not just by mere wishing, you have to do all these things to get it. And to remind you again, the Buddha says in that sutta, the wishes of one who is virtuous can be easily fulfilled. If you try to be impeccable in your 5 precepts, then whatever you wish for can easily be attained. I would like to end here. If there are any comments or questions, please feel free to express yourself. No questions? Sure? Okay, good. We call it early night today.